Hey guys, welcome back to my video. If you're new, welcome. In this tutorial, I wanted to do a video recreating the look I did for the Beyonce Cowboy Carter tour since I attended the concert. I did have fun. In this tutorial, I did do a few different modifications that I didn't do in my original look, but I still love how the makeup turned out. If you want to see how I achieved this look, then please keep on watching. And if you didn't catch my vlog of the concert, go back and watch that video. I'm gonna try to link it somewhere around here or put it in the description box as well. And stay tuned, let's play in makeup. So I'm gonna start off with my brows. As usual, I'm using the Anastasia brow freeze to set my brows in place. And I'm going over that, I'm gonna set that with some powder, with the Laura Mercier powder. This one is just in translucent, and then I go over it with the Anastasia Brow Wiz. This is in the shade dark brown. Going into my Tarte Shape Tape Concealer and a flat brush, I'm going to go ahead and clean up my eyebrows. I'm going to use this for underneath my brows, which will also work double for cleaning up and as my highlight. And the top of my brow, whatever foundation I choose today, I'm going to just use, I'm just going to go in with the, I'm going to use the Makiage foundation today. So I'm going to use that to clean up the top of my brows. Another issue I deal with, this brow sits higher than this brow. So I always have to compensate on this brow to either come a little bit further down or go a little bit higher up on the other brow. I'm going to use matte paint pot and soft ochre to prime my eyes. I love using the paint pots because the eyeshadow doesn't crease, and this goes on and it'll dry down, so I don't need to set it. It's just a all-in-one for me, so I love using the paint pots. This is something that I didn't do when I did my makeup originally. When I did my makeup originally, I used primer. I only used a mattifying primer, but I'm going to use a silicone primer as well on this one and see how it comes out today. So I'm going to try the One Size Secure the Sweat for my T-zones, and then the rest of the face I'm going to use the Il Makiage primer, the No Filter primer. This is a IT Cosmetics Air Smoothing Foundation brush number 102. So I'm using a silicone primer just to, a smoothing primer, just to prevent if I have any textured areas. It'll it's like almost like a pore filling primer, but it'll also smooth those areas out. So I want to see how this would turn out today. And make sure if you are doing this for your makeup, you read your ingredient list and make sure that the foundation that you're putting on is a silicone based foundation, not a water based. Like my the Healthy Glow or like the MAC Studio, these are water-based foundations. So if I put these on top of this, it's gonna it's gonna create little silicone balls meaning that water and oil are mixing. So this is why you would do your water-based products first and then your oil-based. So make sure you know your ingredient list. Let's see how this one works today. I think I might have only worn this primer once. So we'll see how it goes. And all the products I use to hydrate my skin, they will all be in this description box below. My skin was peeling a bit today, so I went ahead and did some extra hydration. Maybe I should have did this before I did my concealer around my eyes because I see it's breaking it down. All right, so that's on now. So I'll give that a few minutes to set and I'll come back once it dries down. I'm gonna start color correcting using the LA Girl Pro in orange and the Urban Decay Stay Naked Concealer in 70 NY. It looks like a lot, but they're very thin layers because this is running empty. So I just kind of build up the layers a little bit. So I have some discoloration right here around my top of my above my lips. So I'm gonna let that kind of concealer, the orange one, dry down just a little bit before I blend it in. And I'm going to be using a Morphe M173 brush. It's a nice round dome brush. So I added a little bit more concealer around my mouth, my skin tone shade. I'm gonna let that sit for a little bit. And something else that's different that I'm gonna try to do is the no smile lines with the concealer, something I haven't tried. I know there's a girl I always watch do makeup. She says she uses Painterly to do it, which is more of a duller shade than what I would use for my eyeshadow base. It's just off Ochre, so I'm gonna use Painterly as well. She tends to use that on a lot of skin tones. So today I'm gonna try some different things while I recreate the makeup look. And she puts these on the smile lines to prevent creasing through the makeup. But on my original makeup look, I didn't do this part, but I did do all the other color correcting. Now I'm gonna take some Laura Mercier translucent powder and I'm gonna set all these areas that I apply concealer, and then I also apply the paint pot so that everything's set in place and it doesn't move. So I'm gonna start off with the Tarte Shape Tape. Then I just apply it straight to underneath my eye. I come low first and then I work my way up. And all I'm doing is literally just tapping it in, and when I see the edges, I come to the edges and tap them in so they blend out. Now areas where I was trying to cover up discolorations, I'll pack it on those areas and then let it sit so it can kind of dry down a bit. And I work my way up. I start putting it down low first and then I work my way up underneath my eyes, because the initial product that's on the brush, the first spot I apply the brush is where the most product is coming off. So as more product is coming off, it's thinning off the brush, and then as I get closer to my eye, it's less product right underneath my eye so it doesn't build up, which will also help with eyeshadow, which will also help with under eye creasing. The forehead concealer goes from one arch to the other, like a little halo. And because I have a slightly bigger forehead, I'll bring it up, but then I'll blend in the contour, and the contour will blend into the concealer and it'll ombre itself so it fades into one another so you don't see where it starts or stops. So now that my highlight is on, my concealer, I'm gonna leave it alone, let it set, settle into the lines, do what it needs to do, and then I'll come back and remove any excess that I see that might be clumping up. In the meantime, I'm going to be using my Hourglass foundation stick. This is in the shade Chestnut for my contour, and then this is a Sephora contouring brush. I usually use the angle ones, but it's just like a nice round one, and it works just as great. So what I like to do is dip into the product and just blend it out along my face. And I do very light taps because it's a lot of product, it's cream. So because it's a lot of product, I start with very light taps. And then as I see it starting to thin out, then I'll go a little bit harder with my taps. But right now, I'm just working on putting down product. And then I come back and blend. So that way it thins off the brush and there's not too much product in one place. Now right here where you see the contour meets the highlight, just keep pressing it in and it'll blend together. For my under eyes, I'm going to see if there's any buildup in my creasing. I've been lately trying to figure out how to do a decent under eye with less creasing, and I've seen various videos. So one way was use Q-tips to remove the excess cream from your under eyes and your crease lines. Another one, someone used a liner brush, very thin brush. Another one some lady did was pull her eye up, like she did this. Oh, I don't want to mess up, but she pulled her eye up or pulled it down and then remove the creasing. But I really don't want to do that. Kind of curious about it, but I really don't want to do that. So I just look like this in the mirror and just move what I can. I can actually do that though, go where my creasing line, my contour line. No, that's not working. I just look for where my lines are. I'm gonna use a liner brush because it's more thinner. And just kind of pull from those areas where I have some lines under my eyes. And then I can dab off some of the product on this brush or use my finger. I don't feel like using my finger, so I'm gonna just wipe off some of this product and go back in and just tap. I'm going to still use the a cosmetic airbrush that I use for the primer, the silicone primer. Just add my foundation. Maybe I can hear this person. Somebody's child is yelling outside. Sorry if you guys can hear that. So now I'm going to take my foundation brush, swirl in the foundation. I've been loving this technique of swirling everything and then apply it. It gives such a nice thin layer of everything. Then I go ahead and just pounce it on. I don't need to go up to my eyes, but because it's a thin layer, if you want to, you can. I know a lot of people do avoid the eye area. Oh, I forgot to contour my nose. Hold on. Stop everything. And I'm tapping, I'm not dragging. I don't want to wipe the product underneath, so I'm just tapping. And I do light strokes outward once I lay down the product to help blend it in. And then I'm going to take my foundation stick and apply this in the crease. I won't go to my eyes, but I will go like right above on top of my cheekbones. Now that the foundation is done, I'm going to use the One Size cheek clapper. I'm using the cream and rump shaker and the powder and freaky. When it comes to applying my brush and using cream, I like to use a fluffy brush that will help distribute the product very evenly and give it a light, airy application. Now that all my creams and my liquids and everything else is in, I'm gonna go set everything now with powder. I'm using the Laura Mercier translucent powder. Setting with powder, I'm gonna be using a powder puff. and a light fluffy brush. Something that's very light, but I want something bigger. You don't want anything too big, but you can use something that can fit in the area and also press in. This is a Morphe M438 brush. This one is a simple blending brush, is a Morphe M504. Is also good for placement. And then this one is a large eyeshadow brush by Sonia Kashuk, but isn't light and fluffy, and I can also use that to press and powder as well. I'm going to use the Morphe M438 to apply the first layer of powder, and then I'm going to pack it on with the powder puff. Before I do that, I'm just going to double check again the lines to see if there's a buildup. Just squinching my eyes to see if anything is settling into the lines. I don't see anything. It's okay. So now I'm gonna just go ahead and take some powder. Tap the excess off. Swirl it in my hand. The brush is ready. Go underneath my eyes and re-blend in that concealer. Pressing in the powder. Dip it in. Get it up there. Swirl it to even out the powder. And press it in. For my contour, I'm gonna use my NARS Laguna 6. I'm gonna go ahead and use a foundation powder and go over everything to just set everything in place. I'm using MAC NC45, and I'm using a big old fluffy brush. This is a powder brush by Sephora. I like to put a little blush on my nose. I feel like it just brings everything together. I'm a little blush girly. To define my contour a little bit better, I'm gonna take some translucent powder and carve out, it's like a reverse contour, carve out that area. I'm gonna go ahead and do my eyeliner. I'm using the MAC Brush Stroke 24-hour liner in the shade Brush Black. The original brush that I used to blend out the primer, the MAC primer, I'm going to just use that to rub that area down, anything on the lid. Because I like how that color is, I'm actually just going to put a little bit of translucent powder over everything. So for the rest of my eyes, I'm going to go ahead and do tight lining. I'm gonna line my upper lash line and lower lash line. This is a Urban Decay 24/7 Glide On Eye Pencil in the shade Perversion. For my mascara, I'm using the Benefit Fan Fest mascara. Whatever's left on the brush, I'm gonna go ahead and just wipe away the powder, just by pushing it in. I'm gonna use the MAC Fix Plus to set my face. For my lips, I use the Sephora 8-Hour Colorful Transfer Proof Lip Liner in the shade Rosewood Mood. This is number 6. And for the lip gloss, I top that with the Buxom Lip Gloss in Hot Toddy. It's also a lip plumper. So something I'm noticing when I originally used the Rosewood lip liner that Sephora had, it was a retractable one. It was a little bit darker than this shade, and it was a creamy one. They switched over to a pencil, and it says Rosewood Mood, but I think that one was just originally called Rosewood, and it was a little bit warmer. So I'm gonna see if I have another liner that's a bit warmer to what I was familiar with using. So what happened was I had used my lip liner and I was running I hit like pan on the lip liner, so I went ahead and brought a new one, and I realized the shade is a bit lighter than the original one. I'm going to switch over to the Estee Lauder Double Wear Stay in Place lip liner. This is in this shade 17 Mauve. To finish off this look, I'm going into the Urban Decay Naked Illuminated in the shade Aura. And I just apply this right on top of my blush. I'm going to go on the side that has the least product. And just tap it on. Also added some up here, also on my nose and at the tip of my nose as well. I'm going to spray my face down with Fix Plus one more time. And then I'm going to use the One Side's setting spray on top of that. I always feel like Fix Plus melts down all the powder that there is, and then this just helps seal it in. So in case I missed anywhere that there might have been powder. Okay guys, this is the final look. This is the look that I wore to the concert with a few modifications. So I do like that I did, looking in the camera, I do like that I did do the concealer on my smile lines because they are not creasing. Right now they're not. We'll see later. I like that. And I like the other techniques I tried. We'll see how the primer works because I've only used it, this is my second time using the Secure the Sweat primer. So yeah, but this is a look I did with a few modifications. That day I actually used the Clarins fixing spray, so that way it stayed on for longevity. But I'm not going anywhere big today. So yeah, so this is the final look. I hope you guys like it. If you do, please give this video a thumbs up and hit that like button and hit that follow button and stay tuned for more videos. Bye.